Welcome everyone, and today we'll talk about Web3 and decentralized social media. I'm Francesco, developer advocate at Daily Dev. Let's get started. Let's start with the agenda, so what we will talk about today. First of all, we will have a very short introduction about Web3. We will see the status of the social media currently in 2023, social media and Web2. And then we will see the transition to a more decentralized approach for the social media. We will see a real example. We will take Lens protocol as example. We will also make a very short demo. And then at the end, there is also a bonus track, so something that I added recently. So does it have to be a blockchain to be decentralized? We will see. We will start with some definition and then principles of Web3, and of course we can't miss a slide with Web2 versus Web3. Of course, after this we will do more introduction. We will see some issues of social media. We give something for granted when we use social media, but maybe it doesn't have to be that way. And we also talk about the user experience, of course, from also a developer perspective. And then we see if there is an intersection between the Web3 and social media, if the Web3 can help building a more effective and more user-centric social media. Okay, so in just one slide, let me try. What is Web3? Web3 is the decentralized internet. I'm honestly not a fan of this name, but we also have this in the title. I have also a project called like that. But to be honest, so I prefer the term blockchain, but I think we still need a term for blockchain used in the current state. So using the current internet, the current World Wide Web as we use it today. For example, the blockchain doesn't have direct interaction with the World Wide Web with some API, but there is something called oracles that can help us to interact, to make the blockchain interact with the World Wide Web and vice versa. And so Web3 aims to basically shift the dynamic of having a more something more focused on, we're missing a line here, aims to shift the dynamic of having more control over the current state of the current applications and decentralizing the authority. And also, what I really like about the blockchain is that it's more open and transparent. Everything that happens on the blockchain is public. There is something called block explorers, and we can check all the transactions, what happens, and also the code, the evolution. Very simple three principles of Web3. The first one is that the users has control over the data that they create. The concept of having a decentralized authority is very important. So also by definition, by architecture, all the blockchain themselves, they have a consensus algorithm. They help to create something which is more decentralized. And of course, as I said, a more open and transparent network. And of course, Web3 versus Web2. So the main differences are in the ownership. So who owns what and the control of the data. Then the power dynamics is basically the censorship that could happen in Web2 applications. And then about the money, the monetization. For Web2, there is what the currencies that are as we know them today. And for Web3, there is more like the cryptocurrencies. So before going on the next slide, we already see that from a social media user perspective, those things are very important. So monetizing what we do, having the control of what we publish, and also being sure that our account doesn't get blocked for reasons that we don't know. I don't know if I've been following lately, but things have been gone kind of wild, for example, on Twitter, and so we don't know, for example, what will happen in the future. Things can change from one day to another one. And what is the social media state? I'm sure that I missed some of the social media apps. I'm active, I think, in most of them, maybe all of them. Social media apps, as we know them today, they're not bad, you can say, But there is this issue by default, which is a more centralized control. And we give this for granted, like it's normal. If they create an app like that, everything is there, but it doesn't have to be like this. The algorithm of an application can really influence, or it can also change over time. I don't know, but many times it happens that I see people creating content about like the Twitter algorithm changed or the YouTube algorithm changed, and they create content on that. We don't really even know if they are right or wrong. But we don't know because they don't tell us, hey, the algorithm changed. Maybe on Twitter now we see that it's more open source, but we still don't know. Like this is what we see publicly, but we don't know how this what happens behind the scenes still. The social media, they decide how we monetize the platform, or if we monetize the platform. For example, on YouTube they have a model. You either use that model, or you can't monetize on the platform itself, of course. Which are the main issues on Web2 and the social media? So, privacy, problem of privacy concerns. For even if they tell us that they will not use our data or our personal data, we still don't know because everything we do on the platform is not ours. So, and also there is this lack of transparency, which is, of course, something that it's by architecture because they are closed applications, and so they can easily hide what they don't want to show. They don't want users to know about. And then also the last, I think last but not least, for sure, is censorship. And this is not just for social media. It can also be for generic Web2 applications. I think one of the biggest concerns is with PayPal, like they can just close your account one day and you just can't do much about that. From user experience, in the Web2, there are mainly three. Which the first one is that we will have some personalized content, some targeted ads. This is not necessarily bad. Sometimes it's a bit weird. For example, I bought a new graphics card of NVIDIA and still get like ads of like buy one, or maybe this is not worth buying, but so personalized ads on this. And also we are highly dependent on the platform algorithm, so what happens on the app. Sometimes, for example, on TikTok, sometimes it's like people based whatever they do based on the algorithm. So the content itself is based on how the algorithm works, which is a bit strange. And then, of course, we have some limited control on the personal data. There are some issues. Those are not the only ones, but I mentioned the most important ones. And so what we should have is to have a more decentralized control. So we should shift from something which is more only of the application to something which is more like of the community, or at least for the people who are the community of the person in the center of the social media, the creators, if we want to call them like that. And so we should have also more user control over data. Now, these are the main principles. Can the blockchain play an important role in this? I think yes, because by architecture, the blockchain can help giving more transparency, giving more distributed consensus, and so on, and also being more focused on the single users. I would like to introduce you a practical example. This example is the Lens protocol. I don't know how many of you ever heard of this. Did someone ever heard this? 1, 2 people. Okay. Nice. The Lens protocol is a Web3 modular social graph on the Polygon blockchain. So the most important part is that, of course, there are many keywords here, but I would like to stop one moment on the social graph. So a social graph is not a single app, but it's like all the connections that we have with all our social media. For example, I follow Eddie. Eddie is subscribed to my YouTube channel. I am subscribed to someone else. So it's all the connections with all the apps. This is very important. So Lens protocol, it's protocol and not a single application. This is very important in the shift of how we should think about it. It's designed more focused on the connection between, as I said, the user, the community builder, and all their audience. So creating more a user-owned social graph. It allows three main things, we can say. The first one that I like is to add the new features and fixes. I wish I had this on other social media like Twitter when people could fix something by themselves. Also having some immutable user-owned content, which is more based on the blockchain, since everything we create is immutable. And the last one is probably the one who made me choose also this presentation, which is the portability of followers among different applications. The Lens protocol, or these social graph applications in general, they try to solve an issue that we give it maybe for granted on social media. Usually on social media, we don't have portability in the application. We are used to this, like we have 10,000 followers on Twitter, then one day say, oh, I should start TikTok, or maybe I should start my YouTube channel. But yeah, it is what it is, so we should start. So, or I would say restart from zero. Okay, so this is normal for most of us. Does it have to be like that? No, because if we have a sort of protocol instead that creates a social graph instead of a single application, even if it's a good one, even if TikTok we can say that it's a popular application, but it's still an application where you have to start from zero, and if you have some experience in social media, maybe you understand which are the problems. Okay, and okay, we could also just annoy our current audience, telling them, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I do this, okay. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Please check me on Instagram. Check me on, now I have also TikTok, or I have some Twitch account. So we do this. This is something that we do. But using something like this is an example, we can have different applications. And I haven't used all of them. We can use different applications, and the number of followers is shared across those applications. What does it mean? For example, I don't use all those applications. I have already enough applications. I use this one, Lenster and Orb for now. This is more for desktop, and this is more from mobile. There are other applications that I didn't use much, but for example, if one day I want to start creating some videos, I can even share them here, but everything is shared across the different applications, and they give a slightly different user experience. So I'm sure that I didn't try this, but I'm sure this is more focused on just the videos, and this is more like say Twitter style, we can say on desktop. And this is a very good application on mobile. So it's good, and maybe in the future I'll integrate and try. It's easier to create different applications. I don't know, many of you are content creators, or maybe they create some type of content, or maybe they're active on a platform, but it will be nice to don't worry about what we create. Because, for example, if your YouTube account gets closed one day, I hope this doesn't happen, but this can happen, I think we also lose access to the platform. So if we weren't smart enough to save our videos, I do this like once a year, we lose everything which is on the platform. And this is similar across different platforms. So we lose the access. This doesn't happen on something like this. Every application can benefit from the whole ecosystem, and this is very important now for developers, because developers can also design some meaningful social experiences. It's not very hard to create an app like this. I will not do exactly this in this presentation, but I'll just do a kickstart, you can say. But you can create a whole application, and the important part is that if you create an application on something similar like that, you don't have to focus on something which is like, for example, on Twitter now, you can create a Twitter application, but then you have to pay to use the API, or the experience might change in the future. And this is a nightmare for a developer who has some side projects, for example. Just a quick overview on the Lens protocol, just some terms. There is something called the profiles, so who actually created a profile, and then there are users, which they need a standard crypto wallet. You don't need to pay, you just need a crypto wallet, because this is how you have the identity on the blockchain. And this protocol is built from the ground to top using modularity. We'll see this soon. And it also uses something called multisig, which stands for multi-signature. So this is to enhance the security. So users must create a profile on the hub. And for this, they will receive a profile NFT. Now, we probably know NFTs more because some people sell NFTs and they get money. The NFTs, as they have different use cases, and one of the important use cases is to have the identity, we can say, to prove the ownership. In this case, we create an NFT not to sell a picture, but to prove our identity on an application. So it's basically it's the same as to create a Twitter account. So everything is based on this profile with controlled by an NFT, which is also all the history of what we do on the application. And this becomes basically the profiles controller, is the authentication, basically. This is how authentication works in blockchain technologies. We have this part of the tokenization for the Lens protocol, and we have three different contracts. One is the Lens Hub contract, which is, let's say, the base one, when we basically have all the interactions. And then we have a follow NFT contract, which is deployed when you follow someone for the first time. And this is interesting because usually when we follow someone for the first time, I don't know, maybe we get a notification. But the thing is that here we might add some logic that happens when we follow someone. We can enhance this part. And another part of this tokenization part is the collect NFT contract, which is deployed when there is the collect of a publication. In simple terms, a collection is a sort of bookmark. So when we use the bookmark feature in many apps, there are also in Daily Dev, and we can trigger some logic. We have modules. So modules are these standalone contracts, and they usually adhere to a simple interface, but they can really be powerful and used in many different ways. And we have three main ones. So one is the follow module, which is interesting because it has the logic that will be executed when someone attempts to follow someone. So this does mean that if when I try to follow someone, they can trigger something. We can enhance this logic. It's not just binded in the application, but we can change this. We can say, for example, we can get that we will receive some monthly fee or something different. Okay. Then we have also the collect modules, and this is also, it contains some logic that will be executed when a user try to collect a publication. Again, collecting is like a bookmark, and publication is basically a post. So basically, when someone bookmarks, I don't know, a post, we can make some logic to happen. And the last is the reference module, which is used to when we comment or reshare. Mirror is basically a retweet, a reshare a given publication, a given post, or read another comment. Profiles can do different things. They can set an image URI. They can publish something, so they can post and comment, share things. And then, as I said, they can set this follow module. They can define some logic that happens when they try to follow them. For example, add a feed, but not only that. It can also be, I don't know, welcome message. And instead, if you have a regular wallet, you can't do much, but you still can follow someone. So basically, you execute the follow module logic, if there is any, or you can execute the logic when you collect something that has been published. Collect is basically a bookmark. Now, how does Lenster looks like? Similar to Twitter and to many different applications. As I said, this is not Lens protocol, but this is Lenster, which is an app on the whole Lens protocol ecosystem. You can create a similar application with not much time. Okay, so now let me try to make a demo, 5 minutes, and we'll try to do a very simple, just to get started, a very simple hello world of this application. So let me try. So okay. So by the way, to have this to try this Lens protocol application, we're not writing smart contracts. We'll create a Next.js app. So we are more focused on the front-end part. Okay, we're not writing smart contracts, Solidity, nothing of those. So okay, so the default is basically this one, and it's very simple. We can create this Next application. How many of you know Next.js? Okay, not many people. As lint, Tailwind CSS, React. Okay, Next.js is a React framework. And basically here we are creating, but this is not blockchain stuff. This is Next.js is a framework to create front-end applications. So in the meanwhile, so we created a very simple application, and then we can install a couple of dependencies. Dependencies, we have Apollo client and GraphQL. How many of you know GraphQL? Okay. And Apollo client? Okay. Usually I forget to step into the directory. I remembered, nice. So we'll install these dependencies. So basically we will change the tes-config.json, the configuration for TypeScript, and we'll create a simple file and we'll replace the content of the main file. And the go tes-config, let's change this. No implicit any. False. Okay. And then we can create a file called api.ts. This will be at the root level of the application. This is not very complicated. It just defines this Apollo client and this GraphQL query. Wait, here. Okay, so here api.ts. Okay. This one, maybe we can either try to run this, npm run dev. Okay. So this we should have here a very simple hello world with Next.js. This is basically just, it has nothing to do with the example that we are doing now. This is just a simple Next.js application. And then, wait a moment. Then basically we have just to replace the content that we just saw, which is the default one, with the one here of this Lens app. So I'm just copy pasting this. It uses Tailwind, and it's kind of straightforward, we can say. So app, let's say page 86. Okay, so let's remove this. Okay, and this is basically all the code that we need. It uses effect, and but it's that's it. Okay, and as you can see, we have a very basic, super basic hello world using this Lens protocol that uses this Lens API. So of course we should work a bit more on this, but this is a very good start. Also requires a couple of minutes, let's say, to set it up. And then here you can explore this documentation. You can set different GraphQL queries. And you can do many things here. Some closing notes. So on this very basic example of the Lens protocol. So Lens protocol is this composable and modular social graph. So not a single app, but a whole social graph protocol. And of course, it's meant to be owned by a whole community and not a single not the single application themselves, and also to be always evolving over time. I mean, they are still in a very beta phase, and so users can basically decide, users and developers, I would say, especially developers, so maybe they know where, what, how they can create something from scratch, so they can improve their social graph, and they can also decide if and how they want to monetize this application. And this is an interesting paradigm in the ownership and how we think about the social media. And sometimes what here is possible is not even possible for Web2 applications. For example, YouTube allows you to monetize, but it's still it has to deal with all the banks and all the existing currencies. Bonus track for this one. So I added this just 1 month ago. How many of you have ever heard about Blue Sky? Oh, okay, some people have heard of this. So I was excited about Blue Sky at the beginning, but then I saw that it was not based on the blockchain. So I said, okay, so my presentation is trash. No, so I said I tried to improve it and see if this is also a valid alternative. And we'll see also some similarities. So the first thing is that this Blue Sky is an initiative to create a decentralized network, but it's not based on the blockchain. So this is Jack Dorsey, is one of the founder, or maybe the founder itself of the Blue Sky project. I think this project started inside Twitter, but of course now it's something, of course, totally separate, maybe a future competitor, we don't know. The idea is to create this decentralized social network. So again, this is something called the AT protocol. So Blue Sky is an app, but then there is something called the AT protocol, which is similar to the concept that we saw on the Lens protocol. So maybe this is the trend that who is creating a social media system now is no more creating a single application. They're creating a whole ecosystem that can be empowered by developers and also by the users or whoever they want. So again, this is a protocol. The identity in the AT protocol is done by domain names. And these domains, it maps to a cryptographic URL, which has nothing to do with cryptocurrencies. Okay, of course, it's just cryptography. And this secures both the user's account and the data. And also you can set up a custom domain for this. There is the concept of data repositories, and it's basically when data is exchanged, and they're basically a collection of records. So everything which we all know that is on the social media, so any post, the comments, the likes, and whatever. So identity, it signs in, and then these repository records. About this federated networking model, the commands are sent between servers using something interesting, which is HTTPS and also XRPC, which is a new protocol created by the AT protocol. And of course, they are not proprietary, so you can also use these, but by default, they use a different protocol to exchange messaging between servers, which is also interesting. And there are 3 main services: personal data servers, PDS, big graph services, BGS, and the app views just to display something for the users. The scalability, we have different responsibilities, you can say, between the 2 services that I mentioned before, so personal data servers and big graph services. So personal data servers are more responsible for hosting and distributing this data and managing the identity of the users, and also orchestrating these requests. And instead, the big graph services, they handle everything that happens on the protocol, so the likes and whatever, the discovery, so the feed, the algorithm, and also the search, the advanced search. Another important part is the index search. When we have a feed, we can define this feed. Usually when we define, I don't know, our Twitter feed, we can say, okay, I'll follow these tags, but then we don't know what happens, if this will really show some of those tags and whatever. And also, there is an important difference that we are still on the platform itself. So it's everything we generated, these indexes by Twitter itself. Instead, here we can take something served by a third-party service, which is interesting. And then the last concept is the account portability. So I don't know if they've done this to have less noise, but basically you can port your account in an easy way, so they can migrate this account without involving the current server. The user data is stored in these signed data repositories. They are similar to Git repositories, and then they have this verified DIDs, which stands for digital identities, and they are basically used similar to TLS, transport security layers. This digital identity document has two public keys, not just one. It has one for the signing key, and then it also has a recovery key, which lasts for 72 hours, for 3 days, and it can be used to override the signing key in case we get lost. The signing key is entrusted in this PDS, which stands for personal data servers. And this recovery key can also be saved by the user wherever they want, and it can be used to restore this account. And how does Blue Sky looks like? Okay, this is really Twitter. This is not something different, because of course this was done also by Jack Dorsey. Some conclusions, takeaways. The social media as we know them today, they are not that bad. I use them a lot, but maybe in the future we will see an improvement. And also I see that especially the new social media, especially the protocols, they are really trying to involve the developers since the beginning. So we didn't see this here, but also for the AT protocol, there is a very good guide to get started with as developers. And also, so they are trying to really bring the developers as soon as possible on the platform. And we see, for example, on other platforms like Twitter, they're doing the opposite, and they're going the opposite direction. They are trying to, hide everything and, throw the developers away. As developers, it's important, not just as users, but maybe to see if we want to step more into the other direction of going into more like these application and systems that are more friendly, let's say, for us developers. The blockchain is decentralized by architecture. So creating something decentralized on the architecture is easier, but maybe it's not the only alternative. And also, we don't know even in the future if the AT protocol will also can implement some of the features using a blockchain. Nobody is blocking them to do this. So, dziękuję. I don't know if I said it correctly. Okay, nice. Thank you. I'm Francesco, a developer advocate at Daily Dev. I'm also Docker captain, community builder. I'm very active on social media. That's our Web2 social media. If you want to discover which one, you can check it out, or you can find me not very hard on social media. And can we take a selfie before we go? And then we are done. Go.